Hello, and thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Our show is brought to you each week by our friends at Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have any tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, give Harper's Tree and Stump Removal a call. You can reach them at 229-314-2048 or at 229-938-2412. Harper's Tree and Stump Removal is proud to sponsor the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, sports administrators, and sports personalities. Thanks for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Now here's your host, Tim Estes.
Hey, thank you, Robert, and welcome to this week's episode. It's a fun time of year with high school football getting ready to kick off. We're proud to be joined today by Southland Academy head football coach Chance Jones. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Yes, sir, Mr. Tim. Thanks for having me, and thanks for everything you do for high school football.
Coach, I want to start by looking backwards, and I know high school football coaches hate to look at last year, but you guys really had some good things happen, and you had to deal with some adversity to start with. First of all, you went 4-8, and on the onset, that doesn't look great. But if you followed Southland football, you knew that your team really competed in all of those games with some really big schools. And then late in the season, it looked like those guys really bought into the system and made a good run at it. Talk to me a little bit about that foundation that was laid through last season.
Yes, sir, you're right. We did have a tough season last year as far as the schedule goes. And a lot of it was we were the first year as a coaching staff too. So they took some time getting used to us we got, had to get used to them. But it was a tough schedule to start off with, but we ended up, in the back end of the season, we ended up with our AA opponents, we ended up losing 2 games in the back end of the season, and they're both to teams that made it to the finals. But early on, we took 2 tough losses to Deerfield and Westfield that weren't close. But after that, pretty much the rest of the games were a play or 2 away from going one way or the other.
Yep. Coach, you had a major injury right at the start of the year. Mac McMichael went down in game 1. Thought Cooper Boren really came in and played well, but I know you'll be glad to get Mac back this year. Talk some about the recovery of Mac McMichael and some of those guys that we may hear a lot about this year.
Yes, sir. So Mac was our starting quarterback going into last year. In the first play of the second series of the first game, he tore his ACL. So that was a tough blow for us because we were expecting a lot of good things from Mac. But Cooper really did come in and do a great job for us. He probably looked like a center or a guard taking snaps, but he could really throw the ball pretty good. And then he also did a good job of just running the offense for us. He ended up an all-region player. Some of that was because he also punted. He was also the place kicker. He kicked off, and then he was our starting quarterback and played a little bit of 5 technique too. On the defensive side. So Cooper did a good job coming in and helping us out and doing a good and just playing his hardest.
Coach, as I looked at your schedule, pulled it up on Max Preps, it looks like it's a carbon copy of last year's schedule. You'll go to the opponents that you hosted last year and then vice versa. And that's a tough schedule. You got a lot of these larger schools up front that you'll play. And then you'll get into your AA region schedule toward the end of that. No question, when you get done with those first few games, your guys are going to be battle tested.
Yes, sir. We can thank Coach Murray for that schedule. We appreciate him leaving us with that. But it's 6 teams that are above classification on our schedule, and then the other 4 are in our classification. So that makes it tough for sure. But once we do get into our AA opponents on the back end, I feel like we're tested and ready to go. I think it's going to be, it's still a tough region with SGA making the state finals last year. They're a tough team to play against. And Trinity had a new coach last year, and I think he did a really good job of turning them around. And Robert Toombs, who's also in our region, but the classification below us, they also made their state final. So I think it's a good region. And then we also have a tough schedule, like you said at the beginning.
We are talking with Southland head football coach Chance Jones. Our show is brought to you in part today by our friends at Carter's Fried Chicken. They're located at 206 Tripp Street, offering breakfast, lunch, and supper. Owner Mike Shaddles and his staff support all of our local area teams, and they've been feeding Southwest Georgia for more than 30 years. They offer daily lunch specials with chicken, pork chops, and vegetables, and they do it all at an affordable price. Carter's Fried Chicken is proud to sponsor the Integrity Sports Podcast. Coach Jones, let's talk a little bit about your roster this season. We mentioned Mac McMichael, and I know you're glad to have him back, but I know you've got some really good guys coming back. And just through general conversation you and I have had over the last few days, I know you got some guys back out that didn't play football last year. Tell us a little bit about those guys that are going to suit up for the Raiders.
Yes, sir. So we have 8 offensive starters coming back. We have Bryant Rowland, who will be a senior. He's a wide receiver for us last year, and he'll do the same thing next year. We already talked about Mac McMichael. He was going to start both ways. When we begin this year, he will just be a quarterback, trying to get his legs underneath him a little bit. And then Alan Stick was a starting wingback for us last year. Also returned kicks for us. Did a really good job with that. Jamarcus Walker, who was an all-region player for us, will be the other wingback coming back. He'll be a junior. And then we have Cade Futch, who was an all-state player for us. He'll be back on the offensive line. And joining him there will be senior Jack Say and junior Cade Ledger, who are both returning starters for us. And then lastly, for offense, we have Christian Short, who was our starting tight end. He'll be a junior. And then on defense, we have 6 returning starters. Alan Stick, who I just mentioned on offense, will be playing strong safety for us. Jamarcus Walker will be a corner on one side for us, who is also playing wing back. Thomas Fowler, who came in as soon as Matt got hurt and played and started the rest of the year and did a really good job, will be corner on the other side. He's a senior. And then Cade Futch and Jack Say will also be on the defensive line. And then Christian Short's a middle linebacker. So that's our returning starters for next year. And then I also have 5 seniors who did not play last year that are playing for us this year. So it's Camden Rogers, Joseph Shiflett, Kenny Kennebrew, Fletcher Taylor, and Max Stansel. Max Stansel actually won the region in the 400. He came in at Christmas from Florida. So we're expecting some good things out of him. And those other guys, some of them played up through middle school, some of them played up through their sophomore year, and we're glad to have them back.
Man, I know that means a lot to you, Chance. Last year with the injuries you had, your numbers went way down for a few games. So I know any bodies that you can get out are good, and especially when they're good athletes. And it sounds like you've got some good athletes coming back.
Yes,
hey,
sir.
Chance, I want to talk about something that not many folks would talk about. First of all, anybody that's followed GIAA or GISA sports over the years has got to know who your dad is. You know, Ronnie was a legend over at Westfield. He made it a feared place to play when you went to Westfield. Southland Academy has a storied tradition there at Harvey Simpson Stadium. And for a time, that was one of those places that people hated to come to because they knew it was going to be tough. I want you to talk to me a little bit about what Raider fans and what you hope the Raider fans will do to help continue to build this program and make Southland's home field a true home field advantage.
Yes, sir. I'll tell you a quick story about being a Raider, because I have a 2-year-old that's being indoctrinated into Raider Nation pretty quickly. So we're the story about the 5 monkeys jumping on the bed.
Yeah,
we're reading that story, and it's a book, and we're on the 3rd monkey, and the first monkey has an ice pack on his head. The second monkey, he has a like a Band-Aid on his head, and the third one has an eye patch. And so she's talking about it. She says he has a Band-Aid, he has an ice pack, and then he said he's a Raider. Talking about the one with the ice patch. So I thought that was really funny, because you see a lot of the Jolly Roger and the skull and crossbones all around Southland, and that she's getting into Raider Nation in a hurry there, talking about that. So she saw that monkey with an eye patch and said, he's a Raider. But yeah, a story tradition. I know last year I was talking to Coach Brazant at halftime of the Westville game, and I said, "There's a lot of people here watching us get our butt kicked." So we have some really good support and an awesome tradition. I worked with David Bailey over at
Yep.
Stratford for a couple of years. We actually shared an office, and he used to talk about his time over at Southland and how he wished he didn't leave. There had some circumstances ended up putting him over in Sandersville at Brookwood, but he was there for a couple of years with the skull on the helmet in the early '80s when they were definitely a feared team. But he was a really good coach, and then Coach McMichael came in there right after him, and before Coach Bailey, Coach Collins there was really started the program getting to that reputation. So those '80s and '90s teams they all had were something else, and I have a lot of those guys' kids. And I get to hear some good stories about Southland in the '80s and '90s and the traditions they had.
What was it like growing up with a guy like Ronnie? I mean, do you still talk to him about football today?
Oh, absolutely. He was at our practice today. Just so you know, Dad had a heart attack about 3 weeks ago.
Wow, I
He
did not
drove,
know that.
yeah. He drove himself to the hospital, and they ended up. We live right by the Perry Hospital, or my own growing up, so he was really close to it. He didn't drive far, but then they transferred him over to Warner Robins. He got a stent in his widowmaker, and it was like 100% occluded. So we had a scary time about 3 weeks ago, but he's doing fine. But he just to tell you how much he loves football, he's bought himself a golf cart so he doesn't have to stand up at practice right now. He's just following us around on the golf cart. But yeah, he still comes and helps, and he's in the booth with me. But of course, he's been really good help, and he's got some friends that have always been good help to me. I have a lot of people I can call if I have any type of football question.
Man, that's awesome. And glad to hear he's doing better. Tell us a little bit about the preparation that the Raiders have put in this summer. I have heard that you guys have been competing in some 7-on-7 events, but talk to us about what they're doing in the weight room and the kind of things you do this time of year to get ready for the fall.
Yes, sir. So Monday through Thursday, 8 to 10:30, we're in the weight room and then just doing a little bit of football activities outside afterwards. That's what we've been doing in June and the beginning of July. Right now, we're in the middle of acclimation week. And during the acclimation week, we have what we call a Raider test. And the Raider test has a bench max, a power clean max, a squat max, 40s and 10s, a slides and over-unders that are some like combine type agility test. And then it also comes with a 90-second box jump, which if you've never done it, you should try it out. But it came from, I worked with Jeff Herron that when he was at Prince Avenue, that came from Camden County. And this is a test that he does, and I bet he has 15 head coaches out in the state that have worked with him, and every one of them, I guarantee you, they do what he called the Wildcat test, but everywhere they go. So now for us, it's the Raider test, but I think it's a really good test to see, how your guys have built up strength and how your guys are with speed and agility as they go through their freshman to senior years. And we'll do that every year.
We are talking with Chance Jones from Southland Academy. Let me mention our final sponsor for the day. That's Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance. They're located at 925 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Drop by and see Marty, Mary Lynn, or any of their staff and let them discuss your insurance needs with you. You can reach them at 928-3686, or you can look them up on Facebook. They can even do the famous discount double check. That will ensure that you're receiving all of the savings that are available to you. Thanks again to Marty McDonald State Farm for sponsoring this segment of the Integrity Sports Podcast. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Coach, I know you like to brag on your assistant coaches, and you certainly have put together a good staff there at Southland Academy. Talk to us about who those folks are and what their responsibilities are this year.
So my first coach I want to talk about is Mike Chattels. We've already talked about him a little bit on this program because you had him as a sponsor.
That's right.
I'd be in a lot of trouble without Coach Chattels. He does a lot of things for Southland and especially for Southland football. But he also is one of my assistant coaches, and he helps with backs and helps with secondary. I have Carl Willis back. He took a year off last year, but he's back with us, and he's doing our wide receivers and playing an important part in special teams and long snapping and kicking and stuff like that. I also have Billy Law, who was the Marion County's head football coach last year. He took Kevin Prezant's spot as the defense coordinator. I have two guys that are students at Georgia Southwestern. John Say and Justin Richard are two young guys that want to become head coaches that are helping me out this year, and they've been a really big help. And then I also have, who we've already talked about, Dad, who will come, and he's more of a consultant than he is a coach, but he's up in the booth on Friday nights. So that's my guys, and I've had I'm blessed to have them.
Man, Chance, when I think about three guys on the sidelines like Billy Law, like Mike Shadows, and like Carl Willis, boy, you got a wealth of knowledge right there on the sidelines with you.
Yes, sir. I don't think we'll be running any marathons or anything, but we have some guys that know some football, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Chance, each week I try to end my podcast by asking the guest about their support network. And just being around sports, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever, the head coach is in a grind this time of year. When you're in the season, man, your wife's having to handle the kids and she's almost a single parent, and you've got to have somebody behind the scenes, multiple people behind the scenes that are folks that really encourage you and lift you up. Who are those folks for Chance Jones?
So a big one, obviously, is my wife, Caroline Jones. She's also an accountant, so she has her own job that she's working for, but she also does a lot with obviously our 2-year-old Dempsey Ruth, who I've already talked about her. She's incredible, but she's a lot of work. So Caroline works from home and also takes care of Dempsey Ruth, and obviously I wouldn't be where I am today without those two. I wanted to mention some coaches that I work for that have been important. I've already mentioned a couple of them, Dad and Coach Heron. I also want to mention Mark Faraba, who was at Prince Avenue and at Stratford. I worked with him at both. I was his offense coordinator at both of those places. He's a huge asset for me when I need to call about offensive line or just football in general. He's helped me out a ton. The defensive coordinator that I had when I was at Prince is named Richard Bell. If you don't know who he is, if you're listening to this, look him up. Richard Bell, defensive coordinator. He's been everywhere. He was at Air Force for a decade. He was Georgia's defensive coordinator in the early 90s, and the list goes on and on and on. He was a Hall of Famer at Arkansas, played offensive line when they played against Bear Bryant's guys and stuff like that. So he's got some cool stories with that. But he gave me a really good foundation when I was offensive coordinator at Prince, and he was the defense coordinator, of just how to work with kids and how to be tough on them when you're on the field and love them off the field. And then one more, Brian Way, he was the head coach at Warner Robins for a little while. When I first came to be a head coach in Macon, he was my offensive line coach, and he's really helped me with some scheme stuff that and cleaned up some stuff that really has helped me, and I can call him whenever I need to. So I just want to mention those guys because they're guys that I talk to a lot and really helped me out. And just one more good buddy that I've talked to, I really talked to him yesterday, that's really helped me from Southland. Brett Collier, who is who's all-time tackles leader at Southland. He's the head coach at FPD. He's had a really good run there. He's an awesome coach, but he's been somebody I've been able to bounce ideas off of, and he's been a big help too.
Hey, Chance, before we get off, I think we'd be remiss not to mention the folks you work for, because you've got a great team there in Patty Webb as the head of school, and then William Rooks, who I think is serving as the athletic director there, or I don't know what you call his position, but that's got to be two really strong people that you're fortunate to work for.
It is. It's been big time. I think it's important to have an administration like we have to be able to have a chance at success in football. And Miss Patty and Coach Rooks have been awesome. They've been awesome. They'll tell you like it is, and I think that's important, to be honest. But they're not sitting there micromanaging you, and they're letting you do your job. So they've been two really, really good administrators, and I've appreciated having them.
Coach, it's been a joy to be with you today. We're certainly looking forward to watching the Raider program and the upward climb that you guys continue. I hope that you'll come by Roman Oven on Thursday nights during the season. I know Thursdays a lot of times is your walkthrough, but if you get a chance to take your wife out to eat when you get done, stop by Roman Oven and pop in there and say hey to Scott Westbrook and myself. We'll do a live show every Thursday and preview the upcoming games for Friday night. We'd love to get you on for about 5 minutes once or twice during the season and just kind of give us an update on the Raiders.
Yes, sir. That'd be great. I appreciate you having me.
And we want to thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Thanks again to our sponsors, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal, Carter's Fried Chicken, and Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance. Please remember to like and share this video. And for my friend, Chance Jones, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.